Yo, yo, yo. I can't walk. I don't have some cool intro, so let's just get to the start of the show. I lost my first fight in kindergarten because I got tagged up more than the other kid in the chicken fight. I had a couple of bruises on my face, so when my dad got home, he beat my ass too and told me if I lose another fight, he's gonna beat my ass again. He tried to give me a fighting chance to learn how to defend myself by watching boxing and pro wrestling on TV with me. Watching boxing taught me how to fight, but pro wrestling entertained me a whole lot more. Combat sports are real, so the fighters rarely talk trash to each other and only fight a couple of times a year. Pro wrestling's fake, so I get to see my favorite superstars wrestle and talk shit to each other every week.
Hulk Hogan, we coming for you, nigga!
The larger-than-life personas, elaborate entrances, and the dramatic stories the wrestlers told with their bodies in the ring allowed me to enjoy the show for the cartoonish circus that it was. Growing up, I watched WWF, which is WWE today, and NWA, which would later become WCW. Hulk Hogan was my favorite in the WWF because in 1985, I thought he was the toughest white man in the universe.
And what you gonna do when Hulkamania and the largest arms in the world destroy you?
I wasn't surprised when the audio of his racist comments were leaked because I watched him beat up the best wrestlers every foreign country had to offer for the better part of my childhood. Ric Flair was my favorite in WCW because he was basically the pimp of pro wrestling.
The Rolex wearing, diamond ring wearing, kid stealing, wheeling dealing, limousine riding, jet flying, son of a gun, and I'm having a hard time holding these alligators down. Woo!
They were the stars of their respective shows, so they mostly talked themselves up in promos, so it was more of a treat when you actually see them wrestle. To fill in the rest of the programming, guys with nicknames were humiliating and beating the shit out of guys without nicknames. For example, Ravishing Rick Rude would walk down the aisle to the ring with 80s male stripper theme music and a robe on. Barry Horowitz would already be in the ring waiting to get fucked up in a match that he'll get little to no offense in. When Ravishing Rick Rude got inside the ring, he would be given a microphone so he could tell the DJ to cut the music and the crowd to
shut the fuck up!
So he could take off his robe and show the ladies in the audience what a sexy man's body really looks like. Then he tells the DJ to turn the music back on as he takes off his robe and seductively pose for the screaming soccer moms who brought their kids to the show. Ravishing Rick Rude would then on Barry Horowitz for about 5 minutes without breaking a sweat and obviously winning the match. Almost every wrestler had a gimmick like that to entertain the fans. Jake the Snake Roberts would knock out his opponents with the DDT and then let his python Damien slither all over their unconscious bodies. The $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase would put his opponents to sleep with a submission hold called the $1 Million Dream.
You ever go night-night, nigga? Everybody go night-night, nigga!
So he could laugh at them while shoving $100 bills down their throats. In between matches were promo segments where superstars who didn't wrestle that week would yell at the camera for a couple of minutes about whatever the fuck they felt like. The Ultimate Warrior would flex his muscles yelling shit that would confuse both the audience as well as his co-workers.
Ah, the heavens have opened up from above, and the warriors have spoken. You felt the power that makes the skies rumble, and the earth shake. Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
Wrestlers with nicknames only fought each other at live events and pay-per-views. When I became a teenager, Hulkamania got lame really fast and the new wrestlers had goofy occupational gimmicks like a dentist, garbage man, and an Elvis impersonator. Puberty redirected my priorities and dedicating my time to looking for
what's that stuff? I used to eat it all the time back in the day. Pussy. That's right.
So I stopped watching for a while. Hulk Hogan brought me back to pro wrestling when he became a bad guy in WCW and started his own gang, the New World Order. The NWO was because they beat up everybody, then tagged their gang letters and spray paint on their opponents' backs. They even had colors, gang signs, and pornographic entrance theme music that kinda sounded like late on Saturday nights, ECW would come on with a hardcore show that guaranteed that someone was getting hit with a chair or thrown through a table or both every week. I enjoyed that show because I really liked their characters.
Yeah.
The Sandman would walk to the ring through the crowd drinking a beer that he would smash on his head repeatedly before beating the shit out of his opponent with a kendo stick that was always by his side. Sabu was a psychotic Arab wrestler who would even injure himself for the sake of inflicting harm on his opponents. Rob Van Dam was my favorite because he did cool acrobatic moves I never seen before, which earned him the nickname The Whole Fucking Show. Mike Tyson's involvement at WrestleMania 14 in 1998 got me interested in WWF again because it allowed me to see how great Stone Cold Steve Austin was. In the 90s, everybody hated their boss, and it was refreshing to see this redneck beat up his boss every week while giving people middle fingers and drinking beer doing it.
I said, give me a hell yeah!
WWF labeled this time their Attitude Era because the action and storylines were more hardcore, and almost every wrestler on their roster talked shit with catchphrases now. The Rock was always laying the smackdown and made sure everybody could smell what he was cooking. D-Generation X was an NWO ripoff in the WWF, and if you're not down with that, they got 2 words for you. What made that time in pro wrestling special was if I got tired of watching The Undertaker crucifying people on WWF, I could just flip the channel to WCW because they were both on at the same time on Monday nights. WCW was hot with the New World Order, Goldberg, and Sting, but when they turned into a 3-hour show and over half the roster eventually joined the NWO, that marked the beginning of the end of the Monday Night Wars. When WCW's programming became complete trash in 2001, the owner of the WWF, Vince McMahon, bought WCW and hasn't had any real competition since. Stone Cold Steve Austin retired in 2003, and shortly afterward, The Rock left wrestling to become the Hollywood megastar he is today. WWE still had stars like John Cena, The Undertaker, Triple H, and Shawn Michaels to keep me watching, but it was difficult because the programming shifted to PG content that catered more to kids.
I believe the children are our future. Thank you. Teach them well and let them lead the way.
Over the past 15 years, WWE's programming has become less and less entertaining to me because most of their storylines don't make sense to me anymore. Triple H became an executive within the company, Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker retired, and John Cena left to pursue a Hollywood acting career. Today, WWE has the most athletic roster they've ever had, but the only star I see on it is Roman Reigns, and that's because he's been shoved down the audience's throats for the past 5 years.
Tragic.
Trying to watch pro wrestling without storylines and stars that I care about leaves me with
Absolutely nothing!
to distract me from the fact that I'm a 43-year-old man watching 2 or more people pretend to beat the shit out of each other.
That's so very, very sad.
Although I don't watch WWE on TV anymore, I still check out their clips on YouTube occasionally to see if they're doing anything that would spark my interest in the product again, but that hardly ever happens. Today I get my pro wrestling fix by watching shoot interviews with wrestlers I had or have genuine interest in where they talk about their careers from a real life perspective. I also enjoy watching YouTube channels like What Culture, Cultaholic, Wrestle Talk, and Parts Fun Known because they talk about wrestling both past and present using humor that I think is
hilarious.
I listen to clips of Jim Cornette's podcast because back in the day he did everything in the wrestling business except actually wrestle, so I appreciate his take on topics. He talks a lot of shit too, so I also think he's
hilarious.
I wish WWE could get better, but they won't because Vince McMahon has final say-so on everything that I see, which is the vision of an out-of-touch old man who's gonna outlive me. WrestleMania is 7 hours long now, so they split that shit up into 2 days of 3.5-hour shows. Am I ordering WrestleMania this year?
I don't think so, Tim.
There's like 20 superstars that I really like in WWE, but if Vince McMahon doesn't care about them enough to try to make them stars, why should I? WWE is still gonna make money regardless of what I think of the product, so it is what it is. At least I still have my memories of the good times I had watching pro wrestling, and I hope you enjoyed my sharing them with you.
And that's all I have to say about that.
If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, please subscribe, and tell me what you think in the comment section below.
Peace. I'm Audi 5000.
Those who wish to follow me, I welcome with my hand.
for this video. But then again, what do I know? I'm just an old crippled bastard. Ooh, 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 ooh. I ain't too proud to beg for your money, so like, share, and subscribe.